Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. If you didn't come back, that's your loss.
Yes, that's your
to
problem.
another episode of the Universal Lens. I, as always, am John Emilio. This, as always, is Anthony Lisi, and that, as always, is Henry Enrique Beltra.
No adjectives.
No, big sexy.
Yes, medium sexy.
Thanks everybody for coming back. Hope everybody had a nice week. Hope everybody enjoyed themselves. Everybody's safe and healthy. And I don't know. Anything else?
Yeah,
no more updates. No news. No updates.
No,
good?
you kidding me?
We're good.
John, life is perfect.
Yeah.
There is zero stress
That's funny.
in our lives. I don't know about you, but everything's going perfect.
Yeah, everything's fantastic. Fantastic.
We have zero hurdles. We have zero worries.
As Eckhart Tolle says, just wait.
That's good.
Everything's good in your life. Good.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Brace yourself.
That's so good.
Just wait. Life will show up again. And it should. It should show up. It's important that it does.
That was one of the many, well, not many, but one of the few moments of when the crowd just erupts. Like, everything's good? Good. Just wait.
Just wait. But there's a lot of truth to that. Just wait, because, and I honestly think it's important that just wait does happen. That life does present a challenge to you at some point.
I think so.
Because else you get complacent.
This like goes hand in hand with one of my other freaking theories.
Freaking theories.
Yeah, I have these theories I come up with. I don't know, just that's the way it works. I have this theory that the people that are not open to talking about what's ailing them or what are just either in denial or
embarrassed.
Thank you. Because like it's almost like they don't want to come out and say it, and it's almost
it's considered a weakness.
It's
always been considered a weakness, although I think we're kind of breaking out of that. I honestly do. Everything I'm seeing is people talking about it more, and especially
it's trending. That's trending the right way for sure.
Yeah, and you see a lot of men's. I personally do see a lot of men's mental health stuff out there, especially in the first responder community and stuff like that. They're really starting to focus on that, and in a positive direction. I have to say, it's been going in a positive direction more than ever before. People are starting to open up.
Yeah. And so in my mind, I'm like, there's no way everything's perfect for you. There's no way.
No.
There's something ailing you. There's something.
I mean, it could be that's right now you're not being challenged by anything. Not saying you or any of us.
It's true.
That you're not being challenged by anything in life.
You know who that guy is? Dan Bilzerian. Bilzerian. I was watching a thing on him, and he was doing a podcast or talking to somebody.
Oh, you know who he is?
He was like a millionaire playboy, surrounded by the most gorgeous women at all times, on yachts everywhere.
Tough life.
He was in great shape. Just he was a stud of a guy, and the women were flocking all over him, right, like crazy. Every man looked at him and said, "Oh,
I want to be him."
Holy shit, I want to be him.
Wow.
But if you saw him, you'd say you'd want. But I found out through this podcast that he was like miserable. It's not what he wanted. He's like that. The fun lasts for a little while, and he goes, and then everybody's got the same problems that you have. I have the same problems. Everything.
Yeah.
So that fun that you think I'm having, there's always something underneath.
Yeah, I don't know. And perhaps I look at it like I get a little bit autocritical and say, well, maybe I'm the weird one. Like maybe I'm the weird one for wanting to kind of talk about it. Or again, I go back to the time that you kind of were like reaching out to me, and I'm like, I was so ready for you. You know what I mean? Like I was so ready for you to like, you too? I'm like, bro. And I don't know anybody else that was like that. And to this day, you can prove my theory. There's three of us here. Not
many people do that.
Right?
Still.
It's almost like it's something you hold very, very, very close to the vest, and there's no way you're going to let anybody know about this weakness, about this.
Because we live in a world where people would try to exploit it.
Perceived weakness.
Yeah, of course.
Correct.
Perceived weakness. It's not a weakness. Not a weakness. It actually takes. You're actually more courageous, and I want to say you show more strength is when you face it and you become vocal about it and you own up to it and you admit it. That takes more courage and strength than keeping it quiet.
I think you're going to have to face it. I think you're either going to face it yourself or with the help of someone else. But sooner or later, you're going to have to face it one way or another, whatever is really dragging you down.
Face it, or eventually, or it'll make itself very apparent in your life.
It'll be an anchor.
That struggle, it'll become an anchor if it's something that you don't. And it doesn't have to be something.
I would say it holds you back from hitting your full potential. Would you say?
Oh, it always holds you back. Yeah, absolutely. Anchor. Anchor is a great analogy. Yeah, absolutely.
But that person that is willing to talk about it, or willing to just say air it and be like, look, I'm struggling with X, Y, or Z. I think that's somebody who is willing and doesn't know it, because that's somebody who's ready. That person has removed the ego out of the way. And they said, regardless of what my ego is telling me, I need to share this with somebody because I want help. I want to get better.
Sure.
Well, look at the military community, the first responder community, right? The big egos, the macho. Nobody wants to talk. It's hard to get guys to open up and talk about the crap that's bothering them, and that's why you have one of the highest suicide rates in law enforcement. So the
question is that a personality type, or is that just the human condition, and that there's so little?
I think it's a combination.
Because
combination of society and a combination of the person's personality. So if you have a very stoic person who doesn't want to speak and keeps everything very close to their vest, that's already their inherent personality, the way they are. And now put on top of that society's, filter of portraying it as a weakness. If a certain person in a certain position, who should be a certain way, all of a sudden shows the side of them that they're struggling with something, or they're dealing with something, or there's a mental struggle that they're trying to navigate. I think it's a combination of both. It's definitely a combination of both, I think society plays a bigger role in it. I think you see a lot more people be open about things once that stigma is completely gone. Like Anthony said before, the stigma is turning a corner, but it's just turning the corner.
Agreed.
So it still has a long way to go. Like there's still a lot of people I know who are struggling with stuff. Like I without talking to them, I know that there are demons every day that they battle with, but they don't want to speak about it. And whenever something comes up about this, it's passed over. It's because they don't want to go there. And you can't make somebody go there if they don't want to go there. So, but I could see it in their eyes. I could see it in their behavior. I could see it in their language and their demeanor, the way they act, that there is, there's red flags that I could see because I had them myself. I could be like, okay, there's this, your actions are telling me you're covering up something. Right. You're trying to bury something. You're trying to distract yourself from something. It'd be a lot easier in the long run, if you're willing to deal with the uncomfortable shit, to say, this is that thing, this is what's burning me, this is what's weighing me down, to bring that up, face it, look at it in the face, look at it, in the eyes, and be like, hi, I know you're there. That's cool. All of a sudden it gets lighter. But the more people try to just, I
think it was Jordan Peterson that said, if you're being chased in your nightmares.
I think I heard this one. Yeah.
And, he goes, people would always ask me, he goes, what should I do? And he says, stop and turn around. He goes, you have to face it. He goes, you just can't keep on running. He goes, you have to stop, turn around, face it.
And you realize it's
no choice. Or else you'll be running forever.
But then you realize that you're actually running from nothing.
Yeah.
You're actually running from nothing. You're running from a thought, an image, a idea, an emotion. You're not running from a thing. Like you're not running away from there's no tiger behind you. Like if you turn around, it's not a tiger there. It's eating you, right? I mean, maybe in a dream, but in reality, whatever you think is chasing that you're running, it's nothing. Dr. Russ Harris said it, and I forgot what he called them. Like these monsters, like you're in a boat and you're in the middle of nowhere, and there's these monsters that scare you to keep you on the boat. They don't want to, so they won't let you go to shore because they keep coming around the boat. Rah, rah, rah. He goes, until you realize that if you allow them to come on the boat, they won't come on the boat because they're actually scared of you. But their portrayal of fear that they're giving you keeps you in this kind of a pause of a position. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do anything because I don't want to deal with that. Until you realize that those things that are outside of the boat aren't as scary as you think they are. Once they come close to the boat, you see that they're not this thing you imagined them to be. But it's until you're willing to look at them and face it that you realize it, that it's a image, a portrayal of a perception of what we think an issue is and what we make out of it that keeps us stuck. Now, not to say there's not shit you're dealing with. Of course there is. But is it worth not looking at it, not facing it, not sitting with that whatever uncomfortable feelings it is, to allow them to pass, to allow it to pass so you can continue living your life and make choices that are beneficial for you?
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people just keep stuff bottled in. Push it down. It's the old, how long can you keep the balloon underwater?
Yeah.
How long? I keep it there for a while, but eventually what happens when I let go of that balloon? Not only does it come up, but it comes up and it comes up. The harder I push it down, it comes flying. Instead, leave it on the water, let it float away. Maybe it hangs around for a month, a year, a week, a day. Let it float away. An hour, a minute. It'll float away on its own. Maybe it'll circle back, and maybe it won't. Right? But like you were saying before, we're making a turn, but there's a long way to go.
So like in front of us, we have Anthony, who comes from that world. Not only did he, you actually make a breakthrough for yourself, but the minute you say, I need help.
That came after time, though.
Right.
I mean, you could tell, there was anger issues. There was, I recognized it because I was trained to recognize it in my people. So I recognized it in myself, and it took a little while, man, to be like, I gotta fix this. There's something wrong here.
But it's a tough pill.
And I gotta fix it.
It's a tough pill.
I would describe that as one of my more brave things.
Interesting, huh?
In my own head. Maybe other people say other things I did were more brave, but in my own head, for me, that was way, to go and.
So I know this is our little vacuum, our little corner of the world here.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other people like you, and I say like you because you don't have to just be ESU. It could be anything.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
That come out and say, look, I need help. I know I need help. That's great. But how many of them, and I'm sure there are, get behind the mic and talk and say, look, the more people that hear it, the better. It takes a special set of balls. You know what I mean?
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And I got to tell you, the only reason why I'm here is maybe somebody will hear it and be, who knew me and knew the kind of cop I was, and be like, maybe, well, if he'll go, maybe I get some help. Maybe I need some help. Yeah. So you got to recognize the signs, especially in our line of work.
That's it.
Of there's a problem here. Recognize it and go fix it. It took a while to recognize it, but once you do, then it's on you to make life better for everyone else around you. Not only yourself, but people around me. I knew they understood something was wrong.
And I think also people around you knew a version of Anthony. So they didn't know. I don't think anybody might not know Anthony, the real Anthony. They knew a version of Anthony that they loved. Yeah. They loved, they respected, and you kind of want to keep that version up for them. And in reality, I'm not that guy.
It's hard to keep up that, the tough guy and, I'm a door kicker and this, that, the other thing. Listen, that doesn't last forever. Okay. Right. I'm getting old, and the people who did it with me are getting old, and you can say what you want, but we just can't do that anymore. It's not.
Either way,
it's that part of your life is past. Not that you don't have great memories and learned a ton of things from it, but it's past, and that's a tough pill to swallow.
Either way, it was a job. It was like everything else, right? Yeah. There's certain things. You have other jobs when you get home, right? You're the father.
You got to switch the modes. And I worked 10 minutes from where I lived, which, believe it or not, that was kind of worse. Like, there was no downtime in your car. You drive and listen to music. I sat in 10 minutes of traffic to get to my house, which was only like a mile or two away. Yeah. And then you walked right into, what your daughter did today? What this one did today? And it's like, let's hear it. Who's going to get punished? And you know what? Then it's dinner and go to bed.
You know what? I never, ever put myself in your shoes, and I just did. When I can't imagine coming home from a stressful ESU day.
Right to stress.
And then you come right in. Your wife has no idea, nor can you blame her for not having an idea.
No, it's not her fault.
Now, do you know what your daughter did? And if you go ahead and you treat the problem you have at home, the way you treat the problem you'd have at work, that's not a good road to go
Let
down.
me tell you, you are, and thank you for saying
Right?
that, because a lot of people don't realize the modes that people in my line of work had to switch to, because you were a family man. 5 days a week, you went from aggressive animal, kick down the door kind of person, and then you were going home to 3 daughters and trying to be playing tea on the floor. It's a massive switch.
Yeah.
And that also with your emotions, the same sense of, if I had a family member pass or something happened that people emotionally would go nuts about, I was numb to it. That part I couldn't turn on and off. When I got home, I was emotionally cold.
Mhm.
But that was my protection at work. You had to be emotionally cold.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy to turn that on and off. But you had to turn your aggressiveness on and off when you went home. You had to.
So if right now we have young guys on the force, whether it be 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years in, and you're a young dude just starting out, this is a great episode right here, because if I take you back to, you're 26 years old, I take you back there,
Please.
and yeah,
Go ahead.
I take you back there. Now I want to take you back there, having awareness. Okay.
I think, man, I can tell you right now, it would be a different
Right. So
ballgame.
now on your way home, you're able to kind of compartmentalize what I just did. I'm done. What I'm about to go do is another thing. And then you're more present for your family.
100%.
And those decisions, which I'm going to tell you, fake decisions. These are based on my decisions. So you get home from work. You grab your son or your daughter, because you don't have son. Get the fuck. That kid is probably being hit from left field. And you're like, hell's going on
Why
here?
did he get so crazy over something?
You know why? Because it's the 14th time I tell you.
Yeah, no.
It
happened. It
you're
happens
you're
to me.
at a 10.
It would happen to me all the time. And you catch
And
yourself.
now, with awareness, that young guy in the force was probably doing the same thing right now. Again, I'm not critiquing. We're showing a way forward that you can actually get home and say, okay, I'm aware of what I just did.
I got to put that away.
And that's period, new paragraph.
Mhm.
This is the new paragraph.
Yeah, you're right.
I can't be throwing.
And here's my other thing for anybody starting off. You have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to talk to someone, whether it be a therapist or a good friend or something like that, what's going on in your life, because you don't want to pass it on to your family, because they don't need to know how many death-defying things happened to you that day. Okay. But you need to talk to somebody. You can't hold it all in, because I'll tell you what happens after 20 something years is all those compartments that you put everything in. So when you retire, they start to come out. All the boxes that you put tape on and put all those emotions and feelings away about things. Guess what? Now your brain has got time to really think about it. So you better be prepared to talk to someone. I think, or go right into something else. You know what I mean? Because that time, maybe that's not a good choice.
I
agree with you, because I remember what John was saying about that.
But I have
I didn't say a word, and he agreed
No,
with me.
because I remember it as I was saying it. I was like,
great.
no,
I love it.
bad
But I have
decision.
a concept of where you're going. Yeah.
But go ahead. Go ahead.
There's a saying in Spanish. It's called tocar tierra,
Touch dirt. On
So,
dirt.
touch ground.
Touch ground.
Mm.
So it's kind of like remain grounded. How can I remain grounded? So whether it was a stressful day or whether it was a glorious day, how can I remain grounded?
Mm.
I think this is the practice that helps you remain grounded.
It's
What we do here.
the epitome of staying grounded.
Listen, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think it was a great concept, great tool. I honestly believe it works. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's not some goofy, like, pay $9.99 at work. So I'm telling you, or I'm doing the chop thing here for you.
It's your order now.
Yeah. It's a
We'll
technique.
throw in.
I find it as a technique which could turn into a lifestyle of,
It should be. Yeah, that's the whole point. Is
of
it to be a
being
lifestyle.
able to see these kind of emotions boiling up. And the fact, listen, I think it was a goof that I was able to recognize what was going on with me. Maybe if I was mindful, I would have figured that out a long, long time ago.
Of course.
But
yeah.
it took almost a breaking point for me to realize I have something
So
wrong. I got to fix this.
So for most people, it's that breaking point is when they realize it.
Yeah.
Very.
And listen, I know, I
Very
can't tell
few
you how many
people-
people I know that turn to their gun and, kill themselves. I lost a lot of people I know
Very
in
few
my 20 something
people
years.
are
But that's the only
awakened.
other way. You either get help, or sooner or later, that is a road you will visit.
Yeah.
You
Very
will
few
visit.
people awaken on their own. When we
Because
say awaken, it means have that awareness, have that that moment of awareness where they start to realize, they don't have to take the shit in their head serious anymore. It does happen, and it's great when it does happen, but it's very rare that it does. Most people get there because life pushes them there. But they have to be willing to see it when life's.
You got to recognize it.
Yeah, it's like the old.
And thank God I did. Yeah.
It's the old story of the fisherman who's lost out at sea. His boat sank, and he kept praying to God, "Please, God, you save me. God's going to save me." And if a boat came by, "Sir, let me help you." He goes, "No, God's going to save me. God's going to save me." Okay. Another boat comes by. "No, God's going to save me. God's going to save me." The guy's like, "Okay, all right."
I think I know where this is going.
Another boat comes by. "God's going to save me. God's going to save me." All right. The guy drowns, goes to heaven, tells God. He goes, "Why didn't you save me?" He goes, "I sent you 3 boats.
3 boats. What's the matter with you?"
Because you didn't pay attention. So even this, like, life will push you to that point, but if you're not paying attention, you're not going to realize it's trying to show you something. Look at your actions. Look at look at the way you're acting here. Pay attention to what's happening in your life. Pay attention to the gravity of the situation that you're putting yourself into. Pay attention. And if you don't pay attention, if you don't realize that that boat is coming to help you, and you keep saying, no, this isn't the boat. I'm okay. Eventually, you'll end up drowning or, doing something worse, God forbid. But that's the whole thing. Life will push you there, but you got to be willing to see it.
One of the worst things they did after 9/11 was they started these group therapies where, like, they would get like 20, not only just cops and firemen, which, by the way, is like putting a room full of cats and dogs together, right? So they'd put you in a circle, and then they would ask questions and wanted you to talk in front of your colleagues.
The cats of the firemen.
About the things that are bother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it was like the wrong way to go about it. That was the way of getting 20 guys therapy at once.
It's tough. That's tough.
That's forced.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
That's forced. And when you force somebody, they're not willing.
Not at all.
No, the best student of mindfulness is a willing student. The best student of therapy is a willing student. The best student of anything in life is a willing student. A willing student will absorb, will learn. A forced student,
well, like most people who go to get help for themselves, usually will find help because they went themselves. They weren't forced into it. Is what I mean. Like, a parent didn't put their child into therapy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's like Henry figured out he needed
somebody
help.
who checks themselves into,
and I think he's going to get the most benefit.
Somebody
out
who
of that.
checks themselves into a rehab clinic.
That too.
They're looking for a better way to live life.
That's right. That's when real growth happens. That's when real change happens.
Because you have willingness.
But I think working on mental health throughout your career is beneficial.
Agreed.
Because they don't have any of that right now.
The thing is, especially in your line of work, but you know what? In
any line of work.
I'm saying.
Any line of work.
But I just have...
How many people in the finance world walked off top of buildings because they lost money?
No doubt. I just have... I have a inexplicable, which is better than unexplainable, vocabulary.
Yes,
Nazis out there. Nazi.
One of my... God, I'm sorry.
I have an inexplicable soft spot in my heart for these people because they, on top of having to deal with what they deal with, there's a maligning that has happened in the last few years that, cops are bad, they're corrupt, right? And by the way, you have that. So I'm not turning a blind eye.
Everyone has it.
I'm not turning, but that's it. That's what I was getting at.
And believe me when I tell you, the people in my line of work hate those other
100%.
people. So the civilians aren't the only ones that hate them. The good people hate
100%.
them too.
The problem is that you throw out the baby with the bathwater, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like if I see a cop, don't say shit. They're not there to help you. They, the whole spiel of how a cop is not there to help you. In reality, there's a percentage of cops that are the worst of the worst.
Of course.
Excrement. And then
Every
there's
profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Thank
wouldn't
you.
doubt it. It's just more on the
But
spotlight
that's it.
when it's
Every
Mm.
profession.
I used to have mothers, and especially
Yeah.
in bad neighborhoods, when you would walk in on the street or something, and they would have their kid with them, and they would go, "You better behave. He's gonna take you away." And I used to tell them, I go,
Yeah.
"Don't you want them to come to me if something's wrong?" She's like, "Well, of course." I tell them, "You go to the police." I go, "But you're scaring the shit out of them."
Mixed
Why
message.
would he? Yeah, why would he want to come to me? You just told him I'm going to take him to jail. You know what I
For
mean?
no reason.
No reason. And that's the same thing. Why would he ever want to get help from me? You just told him it was no good. You know?
Yeah.
But
So anyway, so there's that soft spot. Now, I would want any young up and comer, any guy, God, if you're not even in the force yet, you're about to be, and you were able to just know about this, just know about it,
Mhm.
and develop it slowly and understand that there's guys before you that can tell a story. And maybe you're blind to it now because you're so caught up in just, I want to get started.
yeah.
And
Nobody ever thinks it'll happen to them. Believe me.
but at the end of the rainbow, there's a bunch of guys that are chewed up and spit out, and you don't want that for the younger guy. You know what I mean? You want that younger guy to have all the good experiences you had, and hopefully none of the bad.
Unfortunately, you just can't get through 20 years of our line of work without mental baggage.
Yeah.
How else do I say it? Mental baggage.
There's gonna
things
be
that'll just never like
Trauma.
A guy I worked with, carried a small child, ran out of the house with a throat slashed.
Yeah.
By the mother.
Right.
How do you get past
No.
that? I'm sorry.
Well,
I mean, I've had. I don't want to talk about me, but
there
for him, I was like,
there are ways to get past it, and
you'll never get
it's-
that vision
it's-
out of your thoughts. You
and
just won't.
and you know how you do it? You don't try to get the vision out of your thoughts. You allow it to be there, as disturbing as it may be.
Right.
So and you
That's
allow.
tough, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll give you an example.
So what people do is they bury it.
So somebody who experienced that, and I'll use from the world I come from, but my experiences, right, weren't of police
Yeah.
force.
Yeah.
So somebody who had a traumatic experience like that one or another one where they saw something happen in real time to them, right? Now they have that memory burnt in. You have somebody who experiences OCD. OCD is an obsessive thinking disorder. And themes of it are where your mind gives you these gruesome, crazy thoughts, which are images and movies that play out in your head
Mhm.
as if they really happened. The mind can't tell the difference whether it's
I know where you're going with
But
this,
hold
and
on,
I'm
let me
going to argue.
finish.
I'm going to argue this one case.
But
I
hold
can't
on,
let you
but-
get away
but-
with
But
it.
I'm not trying to say that guy's not dealing with trauma.
I know you're not. I'm
So-
just
so
saying
the-
there's,
but,
when there's blood and there's physicality involved.
I get it.
Okay.
But
That's
when
what I
he's
wanna
looking
say.
back at it as a memory, it's not happening in real
Understood.
time anymore.
I understand that.
So when it's not happening in real time anymore, I can look back at memories I had when I was experiencing OCD, and mine was harm OCD, my biggest flavor,
Yeah.
which were disturbing, gruesome. For me, it's like it happened.
Yeah.
When I replay that in my head, not that it actually happened,
so
like
you
it
don't
happened
think
to that guy.
having a physical.
I'm not saying it's not
wait a minute,
different.
I'm asking you a question.
Okay.
You don't think having like that physicality would solidify it more, or it's the same no matter in the memory?
Once it's a memory, it's a memory. Now, is it a traumatic memory? Yes, it is.
Because like for me, smells too will get me.
Yeah, but that would be so.
Like,
I have smells.
like the World Trade Center, that construction.
So I have smells. I have a time of year, a certain feeling of a day that bring me back to 8-9 years ago, like that, like it's today. They bring me there, and here comes a slew of memories. I didn't ask them to come; they just came.
Yeah.
I'm not belittling the cop who carried out.
I don't think
in any way.
I know that's not where you're going.
And I'm not trying to say, oh well, he should just no. I'm trying to say the mind can't distinguish that actually happened, or this is a memory of a thought that I had. It's going to react the same way. That's all I'm trying to say. In other words,
I know
in
we've
other
had
words,
this.
The mind
discussion before.
reacts the same way. The body reacts the same way. Yes, I know it did happen.
I just feel like the reaction could be stronger with a physical. I mean, because it's
So
not
even if
just
it
a
is-
memory.
so-
I get it; it's a
so
memory.
even
but,
if it is stronger,
a smell, a touch,
I get
or a
it.
look that maybe the victim looked at you. I mean,
so even if
there's
it is,
things like
at
that,
the end of
believe
the day, it's still a memory. And when you take it as a memory,
You're
and
right.
you
I
allow it
understand
to
what you're saying,
be,
but
and you
your
allow it to
memory
be there.
started as a memory. It started as
Yeah,
but you hear what?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But if it
Completely.
starts as a memory, and if it starts physically, you think it's exactly the same?
Again, but the mind does not know.
I'll interject. What you're saying is the actual palpable touching of the fucking person with his head falling and blood.
So keep it clean.
Right.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. I don't think that could be the same.
I got you.
And somebody who hasn't experienced it can't say that it is.
Well, no. I'm gonna rephrase it. I'm gonna reframe it. The experience he had in his mind.
Yes.
By the way, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that they're the same experience. I'm saying the mind at that point when you're replaying the memories, sees them as the same.
The result of that physical body and the result of thinking of that trauma, the brain interprets it as if he was carrying a body also.
I know what you're saying. Can I say, let me say this.
Not real life.
Let me say this also. If you haven't had that experience, you can't say that it's the same. I don't think you can judge it. I just don't think.
We're not.
You can't make that call.
You're saying words like judge it. You're saying words like it's not the same. We're not saying that experience wasn't. We're not saying anything about the experience.
What I'm saying, I know what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're not being negative about it. I don't want you to think I'm misinterpreting.
You of it. I'm here to try to show you a similar path where the mind acts a certain way. It's like. Yeah, remember John, we talked about VR that one time, virtual reality? That if I put VR glasses on you and I told you, and now you walk into the edge of a building, you know for a fact that right now you're standing on solid ground in a room, but your brain reacts as if you're about to fall off a building. Heart rate rises, the jitters come. You actually get a panicky feeling, even though you still know deep down inside on an intellectual level that your feet are on firm ground. The mind reacts a certain way. The only point I was trying to make is once you have a real memory
I totally understand.
or a memory, the reaction that you get, in other words, as far as I hate this thought, I don't want to see it, I can't take it anymore, I want it to go away, as something traumatic that happened. Because I've had traumatic things. We've all had traumatic things happen in our lives. Right? I've seen people die. I'm not comparing it to a cop, but we've all had traumatic things. Everybody in the audience has had traumatic things happen in their lives. When you have those memories come up, the same way that person who dealt with something traumatic in real life, or somebody who's dealing with something which is a mental thing that they went through that brings them back to a dark time in their lives, the formula for dealing with it, the formula for allowing it to be there is the same. It doesn't matter.
I don't disagree with you.
So when we say, but see, then we get into a game of mine is worse than yours. And that's just the mind who wants to say.
First of all, I wasn't even talking about me.
No, him. Well, his guy, because it was a harder experience.
I just feel like how do you, let's say if you're writing a book about this, how do you write a book and say that it's all interpreted the same if you haven't investigated, or if you haven't physically had that happen to you or investigated somebody it's happened to, where something physically that really happened is this, your brain is interpreting it the same as something that didn't happen, but your brain is saying that it might.
When I wrote my book, there's a part of my book, if you read it, there's a part of my book where I describe a harm OCD theme, and I actually put a disclaimer in it.
I remember.
Okay. Yes. So when I wrote that, my mind went back to when I was in therapy. I got high heart rate. I was sweating. I got anxious. I got nervous. I felt like I was there. When I used to be in therapy, one of the main things they made us do was ERP, exposure response prevention.
Mm-hmm.
They would make me act out certain things. Fucking act them out, holding a utensil in my hand, watching a video on a screen, having me play out something that did not really happen, but that my mind was telling me, oh my God, it can happen. The sheer terror that I would experience felt like it really happened. My mind at that point couldn't tell the difference. Did John do this or did John not do this? It thought it like my mind was like, this actually happened. Oh my God, this is disgusting. This is horrible. How can I even do this? Tears are flowing down my eyes. The man who did that, God bless him for actually doing that. He's a hero on all ends. And what he has to deal with, I wouldn't wish that experience on nobody, right? Nobody would. When he replays that memory, the mind, I'm not saying him, the mind sees it the same way as if when I was in therapy, and I'm not saying mine was worse. I'm trying to give an example where maybe they're kind of similar, because this was a gory example that I had to go through. I had to talk about horrific fucking things in therapy, like
just to prove you that it was just your brain.
Exactly. So even if you did experience it, your mind sees it the same way. It's a memory it's bringing up. Now, how do you get past that? You allow it to be there. So you were saying, like, how does he get past having to hold that? Because nobody says it's easy. It's not an easy road. It wasn't an easy road for me or for anybody who's dealing with anything in life. But by trying to repress it, no, comes back even stronger. To ignore it, no, comes back. It's actually allowing it to be there. This all started from you. I said something like,
and by
how
the way,
does he get that out of his head?
As a disclaimer,
Yeah.
this person is, if anybody ever figured out, is perfectly fine.
Oh, yeah.
Never had issues or anything like that. I just want to make sure that's clear. I'm saying,
whether it's,
man, how do you get past that?
Yeah.
But obviously he did. So I just want to.
It has nothing to do with that person. I'm sure.
No. We went down
the
the rabbit hole off of the start of the topic.
well, it's to show that the mind can't, when it comes to memories or smells or whatever, the mind can take you back to a fictitious time or it can take you back to a real time. It's having the awareness and realizing that it's doing that. Now it lessens it no matter what it was.
Yeah, recognizing is a big deal.
Exactly. That's the point.
No,
and that's the point
it.
I was trying to make.
No, listen, when I bring up another topic, I don't want you to think I'm being argumentative. Sometimes I'm digging for more information.
Okay, I'm fine. I'm not saying you're being argumentative.
Oh.
No, that's fine. I just like to explain things to make sure that they're understood. That's it. I don't want people thinking
Yeah.
Well, one way or the other.
Basically, the bottom line is once the mind has taken on something as being true, whether it is or it isn't, it is.
It is true. To it. It's true. And that's the point.
Which is
that was a 10-second way of getting there.
I'm digging for more information. If you and Henry are just talking to each other, it's like an echo chamber because you guys are on the exact same page.
I get it. Sometimes,
so I like to interject a little. We'll go for tell me more. Explain more. I don't think it's like that. Tell me why I'm wrong.
So I'll give you a tip.
So that could be thought of as argumentative.
I give you a tip.
No.
Hey, no. So it's a way for everybody to learn, right? I learn when we do this show. We all learn. So if somebody wants to find something out, or you want to know more, I used to tell him this all the time, and I tell my kids. I remind myself of this too. Pay attention to the words I'm using right now to try to figure out what I want to say properly, because that's how we stray away from. Okay, like you're saying, I don't want to sound argumentative. I didn't take it as argumentative.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to.
I thought you did.
No, I was trying to get in there to try to show you what I was trying to say, because it's not like you were getting a little
when you don't
defensive.
think you're getting your point across to me, like he'll get frustrated. Like he thinks I get his point, but just because I'm asking more questions doesn't mean I don't understand it. I just want to understand it more. You know what I mean? That was my thing. I knew what you weren't being at all negative or saying anything bad. I was digging for a deeper understanding.
So I would always say, pay attention to the words we use, because it'll get you there quicker, clearer, and because there was
this for a word, John? F you.
There was a little emotion in what you were saying. There was a little emotion when you were saying when you were, and I don't know if he caught on to it. I'm sure
when you said we judged.
We judged. You said
I
we
said,
judged.
how can we judge?
You said that we judged. How can you guys judge? You said, how can you guys judge?
Yeah, no, I meant that as
if
a
you
general
haven't
term.
if you haven't.
I meant that as a general
like
term.
you were getting
how can anybody judge if you haven't been there?
Exactly. But that's my point. And the point wasn't I didn't experience that, and that's what we were trying to tell you. We didn't experience that, but the mind this was an interpretation of the mind. What I was trying to say, and then Henry was trying to echo.
I want you to know I understood it in the first 5 minutes. I was digging. I was digging more. But
so then next time, you know what you say?
But that way,
hey, can I ask a question? So what does this mean?
No, I don't. That's too simple.
Yeah, but okay. All right.
It's not a question and answer time. I thought there's a conversation.
So that coin,
I was leaving it as a conversation, not a question.
That coin has two sides. There's that side that you just mentioned, something that really happened to that guy. Mm-hmm. That's real trauma.
Yes.
And then there's the perceived trauma that is your brain is doing the same thing.
I get it. I totally get it.
Ready? So the other side of the coin is we just went through an election, especially me and you. We can talk.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of the population was certain as we're standing here that Hitler just got nominated? Right?
Yes.
And nothing like that ever happened.
Yeah. Those same people having meetings with Hitler.
By the way, that's a great example.
But it's the other side of the coin.
That's a great example.
Where that friend of yours really has trauma.
Yeah.
These people, there was no trauma. It's just.
So what you're saying is these people that are on X that are screaming and stuff, to them,
it's real.
The mind is interpreting both situations as.
Well, how many of them are just mentally not around.
Yeah.
You
Not
know what?
around, you know,
In the beginning, I'll be honest.
Some
with
of
you,
them, when, don't seem like they're from here. Like,
years-
when I say here, I mean the Earth.
years ago, I would say to you
Yeah,
that
I don't know.
I would agree with that years ago. As time has gone on, I now know a lot more. And believe it or not, persuasion is a motherfucker. Sorry for the kids listening. Persuasion and all the things that we input. Once I agree with you, everything you say, I'm good. And that's the danger of how things develop.
Well, let me ask you this.
These are people with high IQ, by the way.
Yes, but a lot of
So it's not
their information is from technically, and the news media is hearsay. You're hearing it from other people. So I think you should maybe, if things like that trigger you, shouldn't you do a little more research to, especially if they're saying
That's
that
a healthy-
somebody running for
healthy
president
approach.
is a Hitler, someone who killed 8 million Jews.
Right.
Yeah.
You might want to just
That
be
is-
like, really? And then just type a couple of key and just really look into it.
So
because-
you're speaking if someone was completely aware
Mhm.
and semi grounded. So some people, most of the
I
population,
guess.
hold on, most of the population is not. I would say probably 80, 75, 80% of the country is not grounded and is not aware. They are caught up in their story of their mind, and then they're going to look at. Remember the Tony Robbins experiment? Look around the room, find things that are red, burgundy, brown. Fuck it, that's close enough to red. Look around the room, find things that are wrong with this guy. He's like Hitler. He's like,
Well,
Saddam
here's why I
Hussein.
disagree
He's like
with
that.
you.
And they,
I'm
I'm
no,
making
you were
a
talking
point.
about a percentage. You said something about.
I
why
mean,
so many
listen, I'm
people-
saying from general public, I don't think many people are.
I think this election, a lot of people looked into it, though. I think that was the deciding
No, that-
factor.
I-
is like people did.
I don't
maybe-
know.
I'm
I
trying,
don't
I'm
think
trying
we-
to give a little benefit to the rest of the
Yeah.
world. Maybe we're a little more mindful than we thought.
I just think, it could be. I hope you're right. But I don't.
Right?
I mean, I don't see it in the
I
general
agree.
public.
I agree with what you just said. But not everybody went that way.
Oh yeah, of course.
And just because you vote one way doesn't mean
You're
anything.
aware.
But this was a special election, by the way.
By the way, there are a lot of unaware, crazy people who voted for him.
Right.
Oh,
There's everything.
Exactly.
I'm
So
sure.
that's why that statement.
Every Matisse.
It's kind of hard to get that number from.
But
that,
the other side of that coin was this really happened. This trauma really happened, and this trauma did not happen. But yet
they see it as a fact.
that mind, this thing,
Yeah.
in the interpretation of it. I'm
It's a
perception.
great example. It is a
Perception,
great
yeah.
I was in a
example.
fetal position just a few feet
Perception.
away about a year or two ago. And in my mind, my world was ending. But for the observer, be like, dude, your world's not ending. But okay, I'll let you do your fetal position thing, but it's not ending.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
I think with everybody's crisis, there is somebody on the outside that goes, "Hey, it's not that bad," But for you, and for somebody to do that to you also is not.
I
don't think. Yeah, exactly.
I would
That's
never
not a
tell
positive
somebody it's
thing to
not
do.
that
Don't
bad.
ever tell them it's not that bad, because to them it's the end of the world, and either you have to try to get to their
So-
level to understand it.
What you want to say to
Or try
somebody
to
in
pull
that
them out
point
of it.
is, I understand, and I'm sure this is very difficult. And that's it. Like, you don't want to tell somebody, it's not that, because you belittle whatever they're actually dealing with when you say that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You belittle what they were saying. But I like that example that you said.
It's a good example.
Yeah, I like that example because it's about your perception. And the mind, by the way, is a son of a bitch when it comes to perceiving things a certain way. If he's hell bent on looking, that's what I was trying to say before. When you cut in for a second, when you start looking for things around the brown, it's
Tony
close enough.
Robbins.
That's close enough. Yeah. So if somebody's told something enough, their mind starts looking for reasons to justify that thing.
I get it.
And
I
it
just
creates-
think Hitler's such a long shot, though.
It creates. And it doesn't
Come
matter
on.
if it is or it's not. It's not the
Because
point.
they're not
so
touching ground.
The point, the point isn't.
I feel like it's a long shot.
Yeah, but the point, it's not. So you're looking at it
No,
from
we're
a
just not
factual
talking
point
about
of view.
something. We're talking about like half the country bought into that.
Yeah, but so you're looking at it from
Reality
a factual
now.
point of view to say, how can they compare this guy? You're not on that side of the aisle. These people who are on the other side of the aisle, who are maybe less grounded, right?
Right.
And I can't even say if they're grounded or not grounded. They could just hate the guy enough to say
Right.
they want to use it as an excuse to push a
They
propaganda.
can't even explain why they hate him.
They can't. Hold on. But
100% right.
Hold on. That goes for both sides.
Right.
No, I got a list.
It goes. It goes
You
for
gotta
both
ask me
sides.
why I didn't like it. Go ahead.
No. That there's people on both sides
Right.
I know.
that'll come up with a reason to hate somebody or to say something about somebody. The whole that they compared him to that is because they were looking for that person's looking for anything that they could grab onto to justify this thought. And the mind will do that, whether it's you suck at this, whether you're the worst at this, whether this thing that happened to me, I'll never get over it. Your mind will look for every reason why you'll never get over it, why you'll never get past it, why you'll never move on, why you'll never recover. Your mind will look for it if that is what you're kind of put in there to look for, So
if you wrap it up with the bow, you'd say the mind is the driver of the car, and it's subjective.
The mind is the driver of the car. Okay.
And it's subjective. I'm not talking about mindfulness. I'm talking about the way it's interpreted as a human.
Okay.
All right? You follow me?
Okay.
So,
yeah, I'm getting you.
So if the mind is the driver of the car and it works on a subjective basis, then you can put things in that mind so that your subjective reality is a better place to live in, is a more productive place to live in. Because I could also fill my mind with other subjective things, such as the image of that kid. Every time I see him, every time I see him, every time I see him, every time I get it. It happened. But if you just keep every time I see him and you're in this loop, I want to introduce things into that subconsciousness that's going to help with the subjectiveness. And I want to introduce the people that think this is Hitler. I want to introduce other subjectivity, because at the end of the day, it's all subjective. Because that real event happened, but from that moment forward,
it was a memory.
That's it.
I understand. I totally understand.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand.
And you decide it's baggage or not. And it's tough. Nobody's like, go back to that little.
It is tough.
It's
so
tough.
The person who was voting for the other side in this election, right? And their side lost. To them, their subjective reality is the end of the world.
That's it.
It's done.
We have to move.
Well, the media's been beating it into their heads that if this guy won, it will be the end of the.
I get it. And if it went the other way, there would have people on the other side. They would have lost their shit also. So I mean, on both sides, you would have had people lost their shit, because the only difference is this side they won, so the unaware people there right now are at bay. On that side, the unaware people are losing their minds because their person didn't win, and they're going to make every case why. Whether it's true or not true, whether it's propaganda or not propaganda, in their eyes, it's reality. In the eyes of a person who had an experience with anxiety or OCD, that's reality. In the eyes of a person who had a traumatic event happen to them in their lives, whether it's a car accident or a death in the family or something that they experienced now happening, it's reality. In their subjective reality, that's what they see as happening. What people seem to forget is you have a choice to say, this is not happening right now.
That's it.
This is not happening right now. My person lost in the election. Fact. My person lost in the election. To believe that Hitler's coming back and his guy's going to genocide half of the world is my mind telling me a story, even if it's being input from other places. If I'm not aware, I'm going to believe it. I can never get past this traumatic event that happened. If I'm unaware, I can never get past this event that actually happened. I can't get these thoughts out of my head. Oh my God, they play over and over and over and over and over. I'm losing weight. I can't breathe. I feel, if I keep believing and buying into my mind and I'm unaware, and that's where it comes into play, that's going to be my subjective reality. I get the choice, right, to say, doesn't mean that the thoughts go away, doesn't mean that the memories go away, doesn't mean that your candidate now gets voted in, that you don't have to deal with 4 years of a person you don't want there. All it means is you get to choose what you want your reality to be right now. And that's the power that people don't realize that they actually have. But there'll be an uncomfortable shit that you have to sit with in order to have that. Like, you can't say that, okay, well, I'm going to be happy now. I'm okay.
So, as we were saying, excuse our technical difficulty. We got cut off.
Our computer went on fire.
Yeah. we smell smoke and we're like, what the hell's going
And
on?
there was a black screen on the computer. So,
But the trauma was such.
but the trauma was such.
The
I thought,
trauma
yeah.
was such.
I'm like, something's on fire.
The trauma was
It
such.
was on fire. And I look over, I see a black screen. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
But if you're subjective, if your mind is going to act this way in subjectiveville, yeah, if we're going to live in subjectiveville, then feed it things that are going to work for you as opposed to against you. Feed it. We talked about this last episode about, your subconscious. Not the same kind of thing where, you definitely have a trauma, whether it's real or fake. But it's your choice as to what to do with that. So I would recommend put the trauma right here on top of the table. It's harsh. It's disgusting. I got my leg cut off because I was in war, and yep, trauma, right? I was beaten to close to an inch of my death. Yep, trauma. Put it right there. And it happened already. I'm not saying it wasn't traumatic, but let's carry forward. Let's put in some good subjective things for our mind to really focus on and move forward with it. And the same way, the person that their mind is thinking that they went through something, right? You talked about your OCD, your visuals, and those visuals are real. And those visuals make you panic when you're in them. But news flash, mind, it's not real. And it's completely subjective. So if you're going to behave this way, fine. Leave it right here. I'm not going to entertain you. And I'm not going to entertain you either way. I'm not going to entertain any of you. I'm going to entertain, hey, look at this. This is a beautiful new classroom I'm going to take on bonsai, pruning. It's fantastic. Bonsais. And there you go.
Oh, it's the choice that
It's
you
what you
have.
want to do.
It's a choice.
I
that
love
you have.
bonsais.
Yeah,
That's what you want to do.
It's a choice that you
I
have.
love martial arts. It's what you want to do.
How do you want to live your life? And it's the choice of how do you want to live your life? What do you value? The values of your life. Like we live life by our values system. We've said this a million times. We don't live life by our feelings and emotions. We don't let our feelings and emotions dictate the path our life goes on because they're usually not good directors of our guiders of our
leaders
path.
of how you should do things.
They're not, but your value system is. So you pick do what you value in spite of whatever's happening in your life, and the byproduct of that is that traumatic thoughts, images, events, scenarios, experiences that have happened in your life, or thoughts, or images, or feelings, or emotions, or whatever it might be, have a much less of a grip on you because you're choosing to live your life the way you genuinely want to, in spite of what happened. And if we get into if we get into a world where we start to compare one over the other, kind of like what me and Anthony were doing before when we were speaking about it, it almost sounded like we were comparing, this one was harder. Right. Well, okay. And then I was giving my OCD experiences, and maybe people are interpreting that as me trying to say, well, look at mine. It wasn't. It was to show that there was the similarities between both. And if you get into pissing matches of comparing things, and this is a PSA for everybody out there, never compare what you went through to what somebody else went through, or try to say yours is worse. I know firsthand people in my life who do this, and all it does is keep them where they are. They don't get to move forward because they've identified with that to say, but look, mine was worse. You don't understand what I go through. You think you got it bad? Well, so that identification keeps you stuck because that becomes a story in your head. That becomes your subjective reality that you're saying, see, this is the way it is. This is who I am, right? I mean, we've said this 1,000 times, but pay attention to that, right?
So I believe we're sitting on $1 billion
industry.
We haven't tapped into it yet, but I'm going to open the door. And I think I've talked about
this. Very American of you.
It's very American. Very American. I mean, the capitalist in me gets all excited. Every year, forget every year, every month, there's a new trinket or, I don't know, idea, stupid diet that makes you lose weight. Every year,
yes,
I mean, there's a Slim Fast. There was
yeah.
You name
Beach Body,
Beach
Slim
Bo-
Fast,
the Cookie Diet,
Atkinson's,
Dexatrim.
Wow, you went back.
Right, 4,000 million things that you could think. Okay, living by your values. I make a case that you can get on a long-term weight loss plan and goal, and you will stick to it because it's one of your values. And I guarantee you will have long-term success if using mindfulness as a weight loss tool.
Oh, absolutely.
I said what I said.
It's well known.
ladies.
It's well documented that it works.
And this cost you nothing.
I thought you said it was $1 billion industry.
What are you trying to sell?
We're the
Just buy
Tony,
this tape about mindfulness, and you can lose 5 pounds in the first week.
We're the Richard Simmons of mindfulness.
Oh boy, Richard Simmons.
sweating to the meditations.
Don't laugh. It's going to be the three of us with short shorts, riling
with
people
your curly
up.
hair.
If you're sweating during a meditation, boy.
It's like hot yoga.
Where's your hand?
Yeah, it's not a meditation anymore.
It's like hot yoga. Yeah, no, but you're right. Yeah, that works. Yeah, it's that mindfulness and awareness is very important. It's the key
To put some meat on that bone. Very simple. So I'm going to leave here and I'm going to go to the gym. Being aware of what your values are, I would probably say, it's kind of late already. I'm pretty tired. And you know what tomorrow is? A pretty big day. And you think of all these things, but it's a value. It's something I really love to do and I really value. So I'm not going to find the excuse to go around it. Today was a scheduled gym day. I'm going to go and I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. If that's something that you value.
Yeah.
That's something that you value.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
So,
well, the point is,
honest.
we have a lot of fun doing this. It's it's more enjoyable for us probably than it is for you.
It is. Listen, for the people that do listen, I know they get some benefit out of it. People that haven't discovered us, some people that tried us and for some reason didn't hang on. Okay.
And for the new people,
but for the people,
for the three of us, we're just having a good conversation.
Yeah. But I think that's it.
Share it, like it.
Yeah, I'll
share it, like it, love it.
Share it, like it, love it. That's it.
All
Anything
right.
else?
That's it.
Thanks, man.
The bell's ringing.
What bell?
School's over.
Oh,
School's out.
5:00. It's dinner time somewhere. All right.
Anthony can't wait.
Would you hit the button already? All
right, guys.
Here?
Take care.
He's dragging me along.
We'll see you guys next week.
I'm about to eat my fingers.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming back. Sorry for the technical difficulties. And we'll talk to you guys next time.
Peace.
The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.